Hey, so I wanted to run through a specific playbook that I think will be awesome for anyone that has bought a stand space. So if you don't know who I am, my name's Alex. I'm the founder of INONDA, and my background was actually in exhibitions and events. So I used to sell sedans to companies, and I did that for several years. Now, when I started INONDA, there wasn't the opportunity to do what I'm going to show you here, which is basically to build your own attendee list. So prior to this, you'd have to either go to the event organizer, and a lot of the time they'd safeguard the attendee list. It's not something they want to share it out. So there was no real opportunity to get a list of attendees other than from some shady characters that would promise you these lists, and it was usually false. But now you can create your own lists, and that's what I'm going to run through with you is a case study that we recently did for a learning technology show for a client of ours, where we were able to build list 1,418 people, attendees from the B2B event with nothing but LinkedIn as the signal. So what we did, what the problem is, just to kind of highlight it, is that basically you pay for the stand. And when I used to run exhibitions and events, there were two types of people. There were three maybe, but there was one that would pay for a stand, they'd turn up and they would just look at their phone. I used to hate these people because they would moan at the event and say no business came their way. How do you expect business to come your way if if you're looking at your phone? You're not exactly the most welcoming person. There was the second type of person that would stand by kind of smiling and just waiting for people to come by. And they would sometimes have a good show. But the third type of person, these people absolutely smashed it. They would come up, they would walk the stands, I mean, they would walk the halls, they would drag people in, they'd say hello, and they would do all the outgoing things that you need to do to make the most of the event. They'd have swag, they'd run competitions. I had one company that was giving away the Ducati, as you can imagine, like a Ducati, a monster Ducati, which is a motorbike, brand new. It's like 20 grand. They had everyone bringing their business cards in. So they were able to extract data from the exhibition through this method. But what I'm going to show you today, you don't need to spend 20 grand giving away a Ducati. But the problem with kind of, even if you are outgoing at these events, is that you're relying, especially with the bigger events, there's so many people at the show. It's hard to stop right people. You just don't know who they are until they stop by. And there's so many people. So what the real good companies do is they set up meetings prior to the event even starting. So this is what I'm going to show you. Is basically that LinkedIn, a lot of the time, if you've got a corporate event, people are posting about it. And there are ways that you can get the attendee list just by monitoring the social posts and the engagement. So the four tools that we used, one was Apify. So Apify is basically a tool that allows you to scrape information off the internet, and there's loads of Apify actors essentially. And the one we used is Harvest API. So I'm going to include all the links to this in the description below, as well as the actual link to the skill. So you're gonna have everything you need to run this yourself. The other thing is the Firecrawl. So Firecrawl basically gives eyes to any Claude code or agent that you run. So we used AI, we used Claude to run this, but Firecrawl, what it does is it allows you to just grab information off the internet. And this was good to get the actual exhibitor list so that we could make sure that the people who were posting weren't the exhibitors themselves, because we wanted the attendees. And then we used Smartlead to send that information. So once we had the exhibitor list, we then ran a campaign using Smartlead. So the four steps from we've got a stand to booth is booked. We collected the signals from LinkedIn. We enriched the profiles to get all of the relevant information off the people that were posting so that we could then segment them correctly, which is step three. And then we personalize the outreach with a 1-2 step, which I'll share with you here. So the reactions is what I found to be the secret weapon. So not just looking at who's posting about the event, but the hypothesis was that the people engaging with the people posting about the event were just as important, if not more so, because there's more people engaging than there are people posting. And typically, it's a good sign that people are going to be at the event if they're engaging with a post about the event. So that's what we did, is we looked not just at the people who posted, but also the people who reacted to the post. And I think you can see here, reactors on the event and vendors post 943. Original posters mentioned in the event 313. We was able to 3x what we saw, or even more than that, because we had 300 already, but 4x what we got in total as the amount of, or the pool of people that we could go out to. But not everyone is your buyer. So in this show, what we did is we looked at who's the core ICP for the show, so who's the attendees that will be going to this show, because it was a learning technologies event, we were looking at L&D directors and HR directors, of which we found 13%. The exhibitor staff, again, that made up a bulk of this. Buyers that were other functions, 404, 29%. Consultants and solos. So we basically broke it down, right? And this is important because you don't want to just like send out to everyone, because it's going to damage your sender reputation. It's also just going to get you into conversations you don't want to be a part of. And then this is the important thing. So we didn't just go out to everyone and just go, hey, we're going to be at stand number X, right? Because what does that do? It just, yeah, it does a little bit of work, right? It just helps people know you're going to be at the stand, which is better than nothing. But what's even better is giving people a reason to come by the stand. So what we did is we first sent an email that said, want us to pre-build something for you. And what that did is it allowed us to get a response. That was step number one, is get a response from this email. And we got responses from the email, but also it gives you, like we said, okay, we're going to build something out for you. Come by the stand to check it out. Gives you a reason to come by the stand. And these are people that would otherwise probably not showed up. And even if they did, they wouldn't have something custom to run through. So it was awesome because these people that would have otherwise missed out are now going directly to the event and going and making a beeline for your stand that you spent money on. And now you've just gotten a few more opportunities off of it. And that's what we did. We sent 845 emails, 60 replies, 6 hot booth confirmations, and out of offices. I don't know. This is all put together by Claude as well, this presentation. But we basically spent under $15. I think we spent maybe even 10 to get this done. But the value to it, because if you consider that a stand is at the bottom end 9 grand and at the top end 50 grand, it's worth the investment, right? And these were some of the replies. So they were like, sounds interesting. I'll definitely drop down. Thanks for reaching out. That would be great. What inputs do you need from me? Now we're in active conversation with these people. And these are people that are the decision makers for their product. We'll pop over. And now this is repeatable. So you might be attending 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 events a year. You may not necessarily have a stand either. You can still use this strategy to line up conversations so that you can have some coffees before even touching down. Makes it much more productive than just going there. What's the alternative? Just showing up and hoping that you bump into the right people at the event, and that's not what you want to be doing. So we've open sourced the playbook. So I've created a GitHub repo, which is essentially a fancy word for a place to store the files. So you can just download the files with Claude, and it will tell you what to do. It will ask you the questions as to what you're looking for, and then it will run the skill for you. And then now you can create your own attendee list here. So include the links down below. If this is something that you want us to run for you, we do a myriad of playbooks. We look at specific signals that are in the marketplace that give you the competitive advantage, as well as relationship motions that build the trust and the relationships that actually allow you to break into bigger accounts. Then reach out directly, inonda.co.uk, catch a time in the diary. You can find the booking link there, and you'll speak to me directly. Okay, catch you in a bit. Bye for now.